What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jonathan with the Rideshare Panel, and today we're going to be looking at exactly how much Amazon Flex drivers make while they're delivering for Amazon Flex. And I'm making this because a lot of people have kind of been asking how much Amazon Flex drivers make. If you look it up online, Amazon Flex publishes that they pay drivers a base rate of $18 an hour, and it can get up to $25 per hour if you're doing a really good job or if you're delivering faster than expected. I'm going to show you guys what I'm making, which is actually quite a bit different than that number, and I'm putting it out there because there are a ton of articles that I've been reading online lately, some of them about Amazon Flex, a lot of them about Lyft and Uber drivers, basically just trashing the on-demand economy and how much drivers are making. Today, I'm going to show you guys my exact numbers, the breakdown of how many blocks I've picked up, how many hours I've worked, the distance I've traveled, and my expected expenses during that period, and how it breaks down into my actual earnings. And I'm doing this because I'm seeing these articles. I live here in Seattle where there's a lot of hate on Amazon. It's driving up the cost of living here, the cost of rent, the cost of housing. And so people love to attack Amazon and say, hey, they're a terrible company and they're kind of ruining the economy for us. I think it's the opposite, and I think Amazon Flex drivers are actually making more than expected. So I'm going to show you guys my earnings breakdown and kind of show you guys how the expenses work out compared with what my average hourly earnings are, after picking up so many blocks in a month-long period and driving for so many hours. And it really breaks down to be quite a bit more than what you would expect. So I think you guys are going to be surprised by these numbers. So I started driving for Amazon Flex last month on December 11th. I've driven for just under a month, and I'm doing this very part-time. It's definitely not a full-time gig for me. I've got a lot of other projects I'm working on outside of rideshare and a couple other rideshare gigs that I use. But during that time period, I made $1,305 in just under a month. And I picked up 18 flex blocks during that time. All right, so let's dive a little bit further into the math. So during those 18 blocks that I picked up, I worked a total of 59 hours, and that's if you count just the total expected time to complete a block. A lot of times I'm finishing those blocks faster. So if you divide the $1,305 that I made by the 59 hours that I worked, that comes out to be about $22 an hour, which is exactly in the median of what Amazon Flex says you're expected to make, while you're delivering for Amazon Flex. But here's why I think you're actually making a lot more than that money. Most of the time, I finish my blocks in 70% of the time that it's expected to take. So on a 3-hour block, I'm delivering in just over 2 hours. And if you do the math on that, if you multiply the 59 hours that I make by 70% to get the new total hours that I'm making, then you get closer to 41 total hours. Now, divide the 41 total hours by the $1,305 that I made, and you have a new number that's closer to $31 an hour driving for Amazon Flex. So you might kind of rebuttal me and say, hey, the 3-hour blocks that you picked up that you finished in 2 hours, how long did it take you to drive and get there? That's a great question, and I'm really glad if you're asking that, because I'm actually being really smart about how I pick up these blocks. I'm either picking them up at the Flex distribution center that's very close to my house, or if I'm traveling up to Everett, I'm using a Lyft or Uber ride destination filter to kind of monetize that time that I'm on the road getting up there. So I can't really count that time or the gas spent getting up to that area because I'm actually monetizing that time as well. So when you do the new math and you kind of work it out after completing these blocks a lot faster, you find that delivering for Amazon Flex is actually paying a lot better than expected, closer to $30 per hour. All right, so I want to break this down just a little bit further and look at my estimated expenses during an Amazon Flex block. So on January 3rd, I picked up a 4-hour block, and I got paid $76 for that block. That's actually on the low end of pricing for blocks in my area, but I picked it up at night, and those blocks usually go fast for me. I finished in about 2.5 hours, so that $76 block divided by the 2.5 hours works out to be just over $30 an hour. Now, if we go into the Quickbooks self-employed mileage tracker, we can see that I drove 6.81 miles during that block. Now, if you take the standard mileage deduction of 55 cents per hour and multiply it by that 6.81 miles, then you get a small deduction of about $3.50 that I can kind of apply against those earnings. So this is kind of why I love driving for Amazon Flex, is because their logistics are really good. So once I pick up my packages, most of the time, not all the time, sometimes I get some bad routes and sometimes the routes are really far away from my distribution center, but most of the time my routes are really close by and the houses are all very close together. So I'm not actually putting much wear and tear on my car, and that mileage is really low compared to like DoorDash, where I'll pick up a 4-hour dash and I look at my mileage tracker and all of a sudden I'm at 55 miles. So my mileage is much lower. Now you also notice that when I looked at that QuickBooks self-employed mileage tracker number, there was another 8-mile expense right next to it. That was the mileage that it took me to get to the distribution center. But once again, I was using a Lyft destination ride to knock out most of those miles. You know, it wasn't a perfect matchup, but it got me close enough that I don't really need to count those against my Amazon Flex expenses. And, you know, so the beauty of rideshare is when you're kind of like taking the smart angle and actually looking at the best options for minimizing wear and tear, you aren't really putting a ton of mileage on your car. And I hope that you guys find this video useful and that, you know, it kind of gives you a better idea of how much you can actually make driving for Amazon Flex. If you do already drive for Amazon Flex and you know, your earnings are reflected differently, maybe you're driving in a different location, or you've just had a different experience, please leave a comment down below. I want to get a discussion going, you know, with some other perspectives on this so that we can get a better big picture idea. And, you know, as always, subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be dropping tons of different driver hints and tons of different side hustle ideas so that you can start making more money as a rideshare driver and as an entrepreneur.